this experience has been a really good experience, and I'm grateful for everything. I think everything happened the way it was supposed to happen, and I'm grateful for you. Yeah.
I'm not in a position where I can give you everything you need right now.
I'm just going to say it. Love Island, I don't think deserved Halima, Shakira, or Bellicus. That's it. They didn't deserve them because of the way the girls have been treated. The fact that we had Halima suddenly dumped without sort of explanation didn't make sense. The fact that we've had Bellicus, the same thing happened. Why didn't they show us the bottom three and then give the four people an option of who to pick? Suddenly, they just put it in a way by Ty was going to stick up for his girl, which meant that Bellicus, unless Cash stuck up for her and said he wanted her, her chances of going home were highly likely. Why didn't we send home Angel? Because Angel doesn't want to explore with anyone. Ty could have gone with her. I don't get it. And Shakira, you could tell she was crying. You could tell she was crying. She must have had a breakdown or two in this episode, and production was sort of covering it. I think this is why Harry was trying to console her. And I don't get why Connor, I said it before and I'll say it again. Connor is just as bad as Harry, if not worse. The only difference is Connor has got a smile and has got a quiet voice. Otherwise, he's moved worse than Harry in this villa. Even Meghan called him out and said, you've moved from girl to girl to girl. And surprisingly, no one seems to call him out. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button. Turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos. And definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island UK, Season 12, Episode 45. I really felt some type of way about watching this episode, especially after I found out that Bellicus had been sort of voted out. But anyway, just a response to a comment that someone made. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, must be a duck. That's all I'm going to say. If your takeaway from my comment was that I was saying that the show is racist, walks like a duck, looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, must be a duck, is all I'm going to say. Because at the end of the day, you can't give me examples of people like India, Tanya, Kaz. India was lucky in the sense that on her season, she got to be around 3 black guys. She had Ikena, she had Dami, she had Deji. With Tanya, yes, had 2 guys. She had Martin and she had Shaq, but still she was dragged through the mud. With Kaz on her All-Star season, she was treated badly. They didn't bring in anyone for her. With Catherine, they eventually brought someone in because people kept complaining. This season, we've had Halima, we've had Bellicus. They haven't brought in anyone for them. So walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, must be a duck. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, you have Maya Jama then ask the safe islanders, or the ones that were the top 4, to sort of go and make a decision of who they're sending home. Am I surprised? No. I'm not surprised, really. I'm not surprised with who they sent home. Because it doesn't make sense that as soon as Tony sat down, she said, oh, Bellicus is my friend. Well, you haven't done anything friendly with her, or that has been shown to show us that she is your friend. And you haven't advocated for her, you've advocated for yourself. This situation reminded me of the Sean and Oma situation, in the sense that people were looking after what was in their best interest. There's no way Ty was going to sit there and not let them save Angel. What I don't get is the girl saying that, oh, Angel, she hasn't even spoken to us, so she hasn't explored the friendship with us. So if she hasn't explored the friendship, well, we can't really say she's explored the romantic connection with Harry. She was just doing that just for the fun of it. Then what is she doing in the villa? She could easily have gone home. She could have easily have gone home. But because we had Cash saying he's still undecided, even the case didn't convince him either way, for him to be cornered and said, if you were to recouple today, who would you pick? I still don't buy it. And I don't get why we even needed that comment. They came back and they said they were voting up Bellicus. Kudos to Bellicus for maintaining her standards. Kudos to Bellicus for continuing to remain the poised queen that she is, because they didn't deserve her. She was way too articulate. She was way too intelligent. She was way too stunning for these people. So she deserved better. And I hope, if nothing else, they cast her for Love Island games in America, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, she did have a moment with Cash. I think Cash felt really bad because when the vote was being announced, he couldn't even look Bellicus in the face. And I think Bellicus, that's the moment she realized she was going home. For him to sit down with her and try and have a conversation with her doesn't make sense. I know he felt bad. He knows why she was sent home, because maybe he said that recoupling, he would have picked Tony. I don't get how he can go back to Tony after he promised that he and Tony were done, especially given the way that she treated him. I think everybody expected Bellicus to throw a fit or to say something, and I'm happy that she left with dignity, the same way she walked in. And they were all dumbfounded, because when she went to speak to Cash, they were all standing by the fire pit. They couldn't say anything. When she went to pack her bag, they were all standing and just staring at her. Whether they expected her to cry, whether they expected her to moan or to grumble or whatever, she didn't. She said, I take it for what it is. It's time. I'm ready to go. And so for her to say goodbye to everyone and to call Cash her best friend, there is a lot of regret, in the sense that people did whatever they did, hoping for a reaction from her. And I'm happy she didn't give them the reaction that they wanted. For the boys to be sitting there and saying, oh, she had an amazing smile, she had this. You're now saying all of this now as she's leaving. How come you haven't had the time to say that to her? You could tell Connor was feeling some type of way about her going, especially at the fire pit. You could see on his face when they announced it, everyone was taken aback and didn't quite sort of understand. It made sense that Ty was there to fight for his girl, but the other three, outside of fighting for Tony, it doesn't make sense. And so I don't know. For Tony to say, at least now he can focus on one person, let him focus. Let's see how far that goes. But I have a feeling with Tony, it won't last. I have a feeling this was engineered by production because they couldn't find anyone for Tony. And so they decided that the best option was to get rid of Bellicus. For what reasons? Hey. So Bellicus is left. You have Harry and Connor go to the fire pit for a chat. That didn't make sense to me, because Connor has been more with the other guys than he has been with Harry and Dijon. So them sitting down for a chat didn't make sense to me. But anyway, they were talking about being in the bottom three, because they were both in the bottom three, and so one of them would have had to go home, and I think production didn't want either one of them to go home, and this is why we had them decide that only one girl was to go home. For Harry to say he's never going to change, he's always going to be him and no one can change him, well, I don't think anyone can change him, because Emma giving him a heads up about how he was coming across didn't change him. So I don't understand why we would think that anybody else would be able to change him. Connor being stressed, I don't get it, because he's now with Shakira, he's never been in the bottom and he doesn't know what he's doing. At the end of the day, I don't know why people haven't picked up on this. I've said this before, I'll say this again. Connor's just as bad as Harry. The difference is Harry's in your face with it, but Connor is just as bad, if not worse, because Connor has been through more girls than any other guy in the villa, but no one has called him out because he does it with a smile on his face and very quietly. And so, hey, hopefully with time people will pick up on that. You then had this, I didn't like. It left a bad taste in my mouth, because you had Tony go and pull Cash for a chat. I'm not saying she shouldn't pull him for a chat, but it was too soon. Bellicus had barely got in the car. They had barely put her suitcase in the car, and she was already pulling this guy for a chat. And I was just side-eyeing her. For Cash to say the kiss helped, I guess I get where he's coming from, because at the end of the day, he has no other choice but to sort of explore Tony. So if he's going to insist that, the kiss didn't help, then why did he not fight for Bellicus to stay? So they have this conversation, and then Tony asks about for a kiss, because the priorities are back to just the two of them. And I don't understand why she asked for a kiss. I don't know why Tony is coming across as very thirsty. Is she worried that if she doesn't secure Cash, somebody else is going to secure him? Because it seemed too staged, too performative, in my opinion. And so I don't like them as a couple. If you've been here, you know that I've been advocating for Cash to stay with Bellicus. But hey, Bellicus has gone home, so if that's who she's going to couple up with, good for her. You had Yaz at the mini fire pit with Jamie. Yaz and Jamie have been one of the better couples this season. They're drama-free, they're toxic-free. So it was cute to see them sort of have a chat with Yaz saying, how do you feel about me being one of the top girls? Jamie said, he likes that she is who she is. He encourages her not to change. I said this before and I'll say it again. Jamie pacifies her. Jamie brings out the better side of, Yaz when they're together. So I'm not surprised that she is doing as well as she's doing. I think had she coupled up with someone like Harry, then we would never have got to see her better qualities. So coupling up with Jamie has been a blessing for Yaz, because it has brought out the better side of her. You have Harry and Helena on the day beds, and they're talking about the fact that they're now exclusive. Helena's happy that, she's with Harry and they're exclusive. They have no eyes for anyone else but each other. And it's like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. We're going to say that. It sounds like a good idea. But sadly, the two of you, I don't think, understand the meaning of exclusive. And I don't know whether this will survive in the real world. Because if Harry goes into the real world, away from cameras, he's just going to be a menace. And you're going to be back to square one. The only difference is you're going to be crying away from the cameras. Connor then decided to go and speak to Jamie and Ty. And personally, I didn't quite understand it because he was talking about Shakira and how Shakira struggled after, she broke up with Harry and in that couple with Harry. And so he's more or less saying that he feels like, him and Shakira, she's holding back and he's having to sort of, I think, be more patient than he would have expected to be. And it's like, what do you expect, Sherlock Holmes? What do you expect? You were her friend. You know everything she went through. So do you expect her to just wake up one morning and say, oh, actually, I'm over that, let's keep it going? No, she wouldn't. She would want to process that. And next time she would make sure that she doesn't put herself in the same position to sort of be taken advantage of by somebody, for lack of a better word. So he has to choose. He knew what he was getting into. Shakira told him right at the start that I don't want to lose our friendship. If he's that much of a friend, he needs to go and sit down with Shakira and stop going around in circles to everybody else. You have the Islanders ready for bed. Tony is teasing. Well, they're teasing each other with Cash in the bathroom about her being the only person who's been in the bed on her own for the longest time. Well, she's a victim of her own, decisions. She chose to go after that little boy even though she knew he wasn't good for her. So, hey, it is what it is. Lights go out and surprise, Madame, high and mighty is busy doing the nasty with Dijon in bed after her pretending and clutching her pearls and saying that this is something that they would never do. In the morning, we have a debrief, and it's like, why do we need debriefs? I really don't get it. Anyway, on the terrace, you have the girls. You have Shakira, Yasmin, and Tony, and Shakira is sort of saying that she still has feelings for Harry. Sadly, what happens in Love Island doesn't want someone who holds on to feelings or someone who's very sort of emotionally invested or who becomes emotionally invested in someone. It wants very superficial people that can float from one person to the other, because people like Helena or people like, Connor, they're just at the flip of a switch. They're quick to move on. Whereas someone like Shakira, wants to dissect, she wants to analyze, she wants to sort of go through the motions and see exactly what went wrong, how could it have changed, how could she do it better next time. And Love Island doesn't have that time because, you only have 8 weeks. So I understand how she's feeling and why she'd be upset and feel like, there's still feelings there. You have Meg and Helena. They're talking about the fact that Meg and Dijon had sex. They're boyfriend and girlfriend, so they can do that at any time. If he didn't want to do that, then she would be surprised that why are they in a couple. And it's like, well, if that works for you, amazing. Dijon and Harry are sitting in the den and they're sort of having this conversation. Well, Dijon is implying that he's in love with Meg. He says he has this emotion. At times he wants to say it, but then he has to hold back. And it's like, I don't trust Dijon. I think he's saying a lot of things just for the camera. That's the impression that I get. That he's saying a lot of things for the camera and he's not as genuine as he thinks he is. And maybe all this could have been disclosed once he got back into the real world, and people are not buying it because it's like back to back, exclusive, boyfriend, girlfriend, and now I'm in love. Okay. And then Tony, I personally am side-eyeing Tony. I think she's doing a bit too much because every time she's spoken to Cash, she has had to pull him for a chat. He has never pulled her. And so it makes me believe that he was reluctant to explore this connection, I think. And production really didn't want Tony to go home. And this is why they decided to eliminate, the competition. That way she could have him all to herself. They went to the hideaway and they made out, I don't know, something seems like, Cash is not 100% in. He's still holding back. And so I don't know how much longer, Tony can continue to push this. Yes, she said she's happy. It's amazing that they're together. She initiated the kiss and she's happy they can crack on. I don't know. I don't know how long that will last. You have Connor on the daybeds with the boys, and he's discussing the fact that he's a bit worried because he doesn't think Shakira is over. Harry, she's still processing that. He was there when she was going through it. And it's like Shakira told you, she was in her couple, she was happy, but you were self-centered and you wanted to fulfill what you wanted, as you've always done, and you forced it, or you sort of twisted her hand into this. So if she's telling you that she's still processing it, you have to sit down and bear with it. You have Harry and Helena have a conversation, and they're talking about reevaluating boundaries, the fact that they're happy to be together. I think that's just a conversation just for them to have something to say. I really don't think there's any emotional depth or emotional investment in that coupling, and so it's only a matter of time before they move on. The fact that Helena was thinking once they leave the villa, things are going to change, and she is the one that Harry's going to be chasing after, and he's going to be at home. I don't know if that works for you. If you believe that, good for you. Meg and Dijon were very happy. They're joined by the hip. She feels like he's been respectful. Well, I personally don't think he's been respectful to you, but if that's what you want to believe, then good for you. Who are we to burst your bubble? But at the end of the day, given the way Dijon has moved around the villa, I wouldn't want to lie and say that he's been respectful of Meg. Shakira and Tony then had a conversation where Shakira was sort of saying that she's sort of worried because although it's been a week with, Connor, she still doesn't have that sort of romantic spark with him. She's still stuck on the friend zone. And so she doesn't know what to do because she hasn't got over her feelings for Harry. And it's like, I don't know. I really don't know. It's always going to be a comparison. And this is why I always say when people are heartbroken on things like Love Island, they need to go home. And they need to go to therapy before they can move on with somebody else. Otherwise, it's just sort of prolonging something that's never going to work. So maybe they should have allowed her, or she should have been sent home to go and heal. I assume, didn't get to see as much of the heartbreak as she is now making out, because it seems so random. And I think there were so many things going on at the same time that production had to pick their fights. And sadly, they focused on Harrison instead of everything else that was going on around the film. You then have Shakira and Harry sit down for a conversation on the steps. I think it was initiated by production. It sounds like, from what I gather, I think either Shakira was crying or Shakira was saying she wants to go home. And so Harry must have been sent to sort of check on her and sort of try and pacify her that way she could stay on the show. They talked about going out in the real world once they leave the show. They understand their lives are going to be totally different. They're not going to be able just to walk into Aldi as they did before. So it was really cute to see them just have a general conversation. Irregardless of whatever's happening between Harry and Helena, I've always found that Harry is a totally different man around Shakira because he's very protective, he's very caring, he's very empathetic. Things that he never does with Helena. I said this when he apologized to her, and I'll say it again, that I feel like emotionally he was invested in Shakira. He couldn't be the man that she wanted, but had he had time, he would have been a better person. I think had he met her in the real world, he could have been a better version of himself, but sadly, he met her in this place whereby he had to play a character, or he had to be a certain persona. They spoke about getting back together, and Shakira was sort of and eyeing, because she knows that Harry's not good for her. At this point, Harry's not good enough to be a boyfriend to anyone, or let alone to be a partner or a husband. So the idea that they're having this conversation, I think it was just someone to pacify her. You then had, Yaz walk into the bedroom. Connor was in the bedroom, and she was looking for Shakira. And so Connor went to look for Shakira, found her talking to Harry, then got in his feelings because he said, "Why didn't she acknowledge me?" And it's like, sir, please calm down. It's not that deep. It really is not that deep. There's no need for you to make a big deal out of nothing. He then went out to the day beds where everybody was there and was sort of complaining that Shakira didn't acknowledge him. She was talking to Harry and she didn't acknowledge him. Helena was now worried because she's now questioning why is, Harry and Shakira talking to one another. And it's like, you people are very, very, very insecure, because why are you worried about who Shakira and Harry talk to? If you are secure in your connection, you wouldn't need to worry about who they're speaking to. So you have the islanders go to get ready. Connor is sitting down, he's reflecting, he doesn't know what to do. I personally feel like Shakira had gone to production and said she wanted to leave. That's the impression that I get. Because why would he suddenly be that reflective whereby he's sitting all alone and he has to go and be consoled by Tyler? Are you okay? And Shakira, it seemed to take her forever to get ready for the night. She kept wandering up and down, up and down. I expected her to go. And I think production, because they have these grafties, this is why they wanted her to stay, so that they could would drag her again through the mud. I hope if they start that nonsense, I hope she just picks up her stuff and walks out, because she doesn't deserve it. Nobody deserves it. And they can keep the people that they want to be on the show to make the finale. So once all the islanders have picked up their drinks, you have Connor and Shakira go for a chat. And Shakira is saying, I cannot bounce from person to person. I cannot sort of end something with someone, get rid of those emotions and move on as quickly as most people. So I'm not saying I want to go back to Harry, but I'm also saying my feelings for Harry haven't completely died down. And Connor, I don't know why he didn't understand it. He knew what he was getting himself into. He decided to stick with Shakira because he knew Shakira he would be safe. That's the impression that I get. For her to tell him the truth, at least she owned up and she told him that, I've really been trying and I can't seem to get there. I can't seem to give you what you want. She could have dragged him along. It's only 2 weeks left, but at least she was honest with him. And I wish she had taken that into consideration. Yes, he feels some type of way because he's seen it coming. But what do you expect? What do you expect when you try and sort of force a connection with someone who's pre-warned you that we are friends and I don't want this to ruin our friendship? I don't know. Everybody else in the villa was just wondering what's going on, because I think they could all tell something wasn't right. And sadly, production, I don't think, can afford to lose Shakira. One, because of the grafties, and two, because she's a big personality. I think they might get rid of her so that they can keep Megan. And I personally don't think Megan will ever replace Shakira. That's the impression that I get, because there's no other reason to bring Megan back. Anyway, you have Connor, he walks off. The girls go and try and console, Shakira, because she's very upset about the whole situation, because she doesn't want to hurt him. And she actually told him that, hurt people, and I don't want to cause you any more pain. You have the guys trying to console Connor. You have, Cash, Ty, and Jamie. It's surprisingly that he's sitting with the Casa boys. They're trying to console him. And then he receives a message to say, Connor and Angel, 2 bombshells are waiting outside to date you. Please leave the villa. #date night, #fresh filled. I personally don't understand why Megan and Blue have returned, unless it's just for the grafties, because there's no other reason to bring them back. People have been calling for Alima to come back, and Alima hasn't come back. I would have preferred Ben come back before we even got Blue, because there was nothing stand out about Blue. There's nothing stand out about him. And even him coming back doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because none of the girls like him romantically. The only person there is Angel, and Angel is content in her couple, which tells me that production eliminated Bellicus because they knew that they didn't have anyone for Tony, so they wanted Tony to stay on. They've brought Megan, in my opinion, to replace Shakira, and I don't know what they expect Blue to do. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the next, EasyJet out of Mallorca, because at the end of the day, there's nothing stand out about him. Connor surprisingly went from crying to joy, and for Megan to come back wearing that red bracelet that Connor gave her doesn't make sense, because in her interviews she was saying it's over because he's moved on. So suddenly she's back into this happy-go-lucky mood whereby she's happy to show him that she still wears his ring and he's banned and she still thinks about her. I don't get it. Yes, she did try and call him out to say that you and I, we, you said to me, wait for you, and suddenly you were moving from girl to girl, and I didn't know whether it was strategic or whether you were really exploring a connection. I think he just wanted to stay in the villa for as long as he can, and this is why he was moving from girl to girl. And then he got to Shakira. You have Megan say she was okay with him exploring with everybody else but Shakira, and it's like, oh my God. What is it now? You've barely got into the villa and now you're already having a go about Shakira. I do not get it. Do I think they'll work? I don't know. I think what's going to happen, Megan is going to want to stay with Connor because at the end of the day, she needs someone to keep her in the villa until the very end. Hopefully she doesn't stay until the very end. Hopefully she's dumped and then she can go home, because there's nothing about her that stands out. She was very terrible the first time, and I don't think anyone will buy her sort of redemption arc that she's going to try and implement during her second go round in the villa. Blue was there. You could tell Angel wasn't interested. Angel was put off already before she even sat down. So I don't know how much longer that will last. Their date seemed okay. It seemed okay. Inside the villa, you have Cash with Tony in the kitchen with Harry and Shakira. And they're sort of just having snacks. Helena is extending her neck because she can't understand why Harry and Shakira are in the kitchen. And it's like, you've gone exclusive. So if you've gone exclusive, why would you be upset about him talking to other people, or do you want them to be divided? What is it? You're not a victim. You stole him. So if Shakira decides to steal him, hey, he wasn't yours to stay with in the first place. I think Harry is really worried about Shakira. I think Shakira had a breakdown. Her face is very swollen if you look at it. And so I think Harry is worried about Shakira, and this is why he's just hanging around and just checking in to make sure she's okay. I think had she not been upset, he wouldn't need to be there. Anyway, you then have the dates finished, and Blue and Megan walk in, and Meg is excited. The other guys and the other girls are excited. But then you have Shakira and Tony just stood on the day beds because they know that this is not good. So I don't know what's going to happen with Shakira. I really liked her, and I'm sad that she's been treated badly by the show. But anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 44. Bye guys.